Hey there, Fundamentals of Art. I miss you guys. I really do. I hope you're hearing that from lots of teachers, but it really is true. And I really do look forward to seeing you guys again whenever that ends up being. But really do know that I miss having daily or every other daily contact with you guys. I feel at least a little bit connected to you since I've been able to see your artwork. But that's not nearly as cool as getting to see you. So I hope that will be the case soon. As you figured out by watching the previous video, we are moving into value. And value is actually going to be the last element of art we're going to look at this year. And in fact, today we're going to talk about the last project that you're going to do this year. Had the year been normal, we would have also done some clay work and would have talked about texture. That would have been the fifth element of art that we would have covered. But that's just not in the cards for this year. So instead, we're going to wrap up with this value stuff. So you got a little bit of introduction to value just a minute ago watching the bongo video. But now I want to talk a little bit more about value and give you an exercise and then explain to you what your final project is going to be, which is also going to revolve around value. So first of all, I'm going to ask you to do a value scale. And in Google Classroom, there's a sheet like this that you can download and print out. If you don't have a printer, that's okay. You can just draw a set of boxes like what's along the bottom row here and do it that way, and that's fine. But if you do have a printer, print this out. That will be easier. And a value scale basically is just a series of values that go from light to dark or from dark to light, depending on which way you're going. And as you move toward the lighter end, the values just keep getting lighter and lighter. When you are doing the value scale, you should use your graphite pencils that hopefully you were able to bring home with you. If you couldn't bring those home with you, you can use just a regular number 2 pencil, but don't use a mechanical pencil for this. A mechanical pencil is not going to work well. It's got to be a regular pencil or your art pencils. And if you're using your art pencils for this, I would suggest sticking mainly with the ones that have B's in them. Not the ones with H's in them, probably more like your 4B or your 6B. Those softer leads will just make blending a little bit easier. You also, for this exercise, can use your blending stumps if you have them, which are those white things that have pointed ends. I'll put a picture up here of what they look like. And you can use those to blend the values together as well. And just experiment on another sheet of paper to see how that works. If you are using those blending stumps to blend in values, and then you find out that they get covered with all that pencil stuff and you want to get rid of that, just take some sandpaper. And you can sand off the edges of those, and that should then allow you to keep using them. So you're going to use graphite pencils from the art room or just a regular number 2 pencil, and you're going to do a value scale. How do you do that? Well, I've got a video to show you. Observe. Let's take a look at how to do a 10-point value scale. 1 on the left is going to be the easiest. You don't do anything. It's pure white. 10 on the far right is pretty easy as well. You're going to make it a solid black, as dark as you can. A couple things to notice about doing these value scales. First of all, for the darker values, notice how close his fingers are to the bottom of the pencil. Know where he's holding the pencil. As the values get lighter, notice how his hand moves further up the pencil. That'll help you get lighter values if you're not as close to the bottom of the pencil in terms of the way you're holding it. Also, notice how the pencil strokes are going up and down, not right to left, but up and down. That's helpful as well. Notice too how he's working really hard to make sure that you don't see lots of individual sketchy lines in the boxes, but instead you see solid values and you don't see white of the paper showing through. See how far up his hand is now on the pencil now that he's getting the lighter values? Now, even though this is sped up, when you're doing yours, take your time. That will help a lot as well. Now you may have to go back in and adjust some of the values if you find 2 boxes next to each other are too close to each other in terms of what the value is. You might have to go in and erase one to make it lighter, or go in with some more pencil to make it a little bit darker. Now, here's an example of a poorly done value scale. 10 should probably be darker than it is. You'll notice that 2 and 3 are almost the identical value there. There should be more difference. You'll notice that 8 has several different values in it. There are a lot of sketchy lines, and a lot of the boxes have white showing through. They're not filled in evenly. Okay, so now you've seen a demonstration of how to do a value scale. Keep those tips that I gave you in the voiceover in mind. Where to hold the pencil, the idea that we don't want to see real sketchy lines. We want to see good, solid values. We don't want to see white of the paper showing through. Keep those in mind as you are trying to create a good, solid value scale. If you mess it up, print off another one and give it another whirl. So that's kind of the value exercise that's then going to lead into your final project for the year, which is a shattered value assignment, I call it. And basically, you're going to do a drawing, you're going to shatter it or break it up, and then each of the pieces that you're left with after you break it up, you're going to shade in with little mini value scales. So let's take a look at a video that will show you how you're going to do this shattered value assignment. Watch away. Okay, let's look at how you're going to create this shattered value drawing. You're going to need a pencil, you're going to need a piece of paper, and some kind of a straight edge, or at least most likely some kind of a straight edge. First thing you need to think about is an object you want to do a basic drawing of on your paper. So for example, here she's drawing a coffee mug. You want it to be a relatively simple object. You could do a logo, like for example, logo of your favorite sports team that isn't playing right now. But get a very basic drawing done of your image like this coffee cup here. Once you've got that done, you're going to shatter the drawing. Now in this case, with the ruler, she's just drawing lines throughout the paper, and the lines are not only going from one side of the page to another, but they're going right through that original drawing. So you're not only breaking up the page with those lines, but you're also breaking up the object with those lines. Now you could have the lines go in a pattern like rays, or they can just be random. And if you don't want to do straight lines, you could do swirls or you could do curved lines. They don't necessarily have to be straight lines, but somehow you're breaking up or shattering that paper into lots of different parts, trying to make it interesting looking. And you want a fair amount of shapes. I mean, don't go so crazy that it'll take you forever to finish this up, but you also don't just want 4 or 5 lines. You want there to be a fair number of pieces. Okay, I'm going to throw you for a loop here. I know you were seeing a coffee cup drawing. It's now going to switch to a different drawing, like a plant sort of thing. Same project, same instructions. It's just going to finish the instructions with a different drawing. So don't let that confuse you. You're just going to do one drawing. You're not going to switch your drawing in the middle like what you're going to see here. So the coffee cup is now turning into a plant, and now the description of the assignment will continue. Okay, so now every single space that is created by the lines, whether it's a tiny little shape or a bigger shape, every single shape that's been created by enclosed lines is going to be a space that you are going to shade in. You're going to start on one side, go from dark to light. Then you're going to move to another shape. And now I'll go, since that edge is light, I'm going to go back to dark and go dark to light. So every time that you start a new shape, try to do something that contrasts with the neighboring shape. So in this shape, now I'm going to start light and then get dark. So from shape to shape, you're going shading dark to light or light to dark. Now this will take you a while to do this with all the different shapes, but hey, it's your last project of the year. You want to fill in those values really, really well. We don't want to see lots of sketchy lines. We want the values to be smooth. And again, we want there to be a transition from dark to light in each shape, unless it's a real tiny shape like here, and then you might just shade it in solid black. All right, let's look at some finished shattered value drawings here. This first one took a real basic design, a circle, a basic shape, and repeated it and then shattered it. And I think the end result is super interesting. The way the circles overlap and then the way the lines divide up the circles as well. Also, notice how you've got really, really good contrast between the dark values and the light values. Now this next design gets a little bit more complicated with the heart shape, but once again, there's a real good range of value happening in each of those shapes, going from dark to light. Also, I think one of the things that makes this design work well is they darken the outlines not only of the main shape, but also of the lines that shatter up the drawing. And I think those dark outlines really help make the design pop a little bit more as well. And then this third example does something really cool. It makes the rays of the sun the lines that shatter the drawing. So the sailboat and the waves get shattered by those lines that are the rays from the sun. Once again, notice a really good contrast. Each one of those individual pieces goes from dark value to light value or from light to dark. There's a good range of value happening in each one of those new shapes that was created when the drawing got broken up or shattered. Okay, so let's recap. You're going to pick an object, you're going to pick a shape, you're going to pick a logo, something like that. You're going to draw it on a regular size sheet of paper, try to fill a good portion of the paper. Then you're going to shatter that page by drawing straight lines or curved lines, but somehow you're going to break up that page, and those lines are going to go right through that drawing that you did. Okay, the lines don't go behind it, they go right through it. You're then going to have a bunch of pieces on that page, and each one of those pieces you're going to basically shade in a little miniature value scale that's going to go from dark to light or light to dark. And when you're done with the whole thing, you're going to have all of these different little mini value scales, but kind of hidden in them then will be that original object. I've got some examples on the assignment sheet, which you can find on Google Classroom. I also put some of those examples at the end of the video, and I'll maybe just even have those other examples as separate images that you can look at, just to give you an idea of what you are, what you're going for here. The assignment is going to be worth 40 points. So even though this is the final project, it is not going to count as like a final exam grade. It'll just be worth what a normal project would be worth. You'll get 10 points for time and effort and neatness and craftsmanship. You'll get 10 points for the contour line drawing, the object drawing or the logo drawing or the shape drawing that you do. You'll get 10 points for how you break that whole drawing up, how effective those lines, whether they're straight or curved, are. And then you'll get 10 points for the correct use of value, that you've got nice smooth gradients, that there's not a lot of white of the paper showing through, that I'm not seeing lots of sketchy lines, that you've got a good progression of value in each of those little shapes that's going from dark to light. This shattered value assignment is going to be due on May 22nd. Now, I'd encourage you to have it done earlier than that. The place to turn it in will be available on Monday, May 18th. But if you need the rest of that week to get it turned in, you can take the rest of that week. But again, I'd encourage you just to work on it significantly next week so you won't have that hanging over your head. You probably want to be done on Tuesday next week with classes. So anyway, but I will give you all of that last week if you need it, okay? Check Google Classroom to see what the turn-in date is for the value scales. Don't forget that by the end of the day on Thursday, you need to turn in your candy wrapper drawing. And then you've got all of next week, and if you need it, all of the last week to be working on the shattered value drawing. As always, I bet some of you have questions. Email me. I can set up a Google Meet. And in fact, I will a couple times over these last couple weeks have some office hours where I will be doing a Google Meet if anyone wants to pop in and just watch for that announcement. I know that there was a lot of stuff thrown at you today, but I wanted you to have all this information because this is it for the year. There is no more new stuff coming your way. You should just be working on the value scales and working on the shattered value assignment. There you have it. There you are. We'll talk to you next week. See ya.